Steve had been sitting with this contract for 3 days. Every number on it matched his spreadsheet perfectly. He still couldn't sign it. Steve is 56, a senior systems architect at the same enterprise firm for 24 years. Not the kind of engineer who chases startups, the kind companies build infrastructure around. Married to Claire, an office manager at a medical practice. For 24 years, they followed a careful plan: contribute the maximum every year, live below their means, retire at 62. The plan was on track. The retirement account had crossed the milestone they'd been building toward for 2 decades. Then last year happened. A brutal industry-wide contraction. Steve survived the layoffs, but barely. The emergency fund got drained, covering 3 months when his hours were cut, and Claire's practice reduced staff. They rebuilt some of it. They're still thin. For 24 years, Steve had been faithful to every contribution, every quarterly review, every assumption. The plan had worked. The problem was that nearly all of it was behind a wall he couldn't touch for 3.5 more years. A Monday morning company-wide memo. AI-driven restructuring. Steve's division being realigned. His manager wouldn't make eye contact. 2 colleagues in his group had already been told. Steve knew what a second layoff meant. If he was out for 6 months, he'd have to raid the 401k early. The penalties would cost him years of compounding. The math he'd been faithfully building would start eating itself. Within 2 weeks, a recruiter called. A contract from a competitor. The pay matched his current salary exactly. The 401k match was comparable. His spreadsheet said yes. But the role meant 60-hour weeks, heavy travel, 4 days away from home, and a company known in the industry for burning people out. Steve knew 3 people who'd gone there. None lasted more than 2 years. Claire read the contract at the kitchen table after dinner. She was quiet for a long time.
Steve, you survived last year. We both did. But I watched what it did to you. If you sign this, you're not protecting the plan. You're sacrificing yourself to a spreadsheet.
Steve didn't answer. He knew she was right. He also knew what happens to the 401k if he raids it early. He sat with the unsigned contract for 3 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, Claire said 2 words.
Call Mateo.
Mateo Reyes had been their advisor for 9 years, since Claire insisted they get professional help after the first round of layoffs. He built the plan Steve had been following ever since. Claire had never missed a meeting.
If I'm unemployed for 6 months, I'll have to pull from the 401k. The penalties destroy the math. This contract is the only way I can see to protect what we built.
Then Mateo pulled up Steve's retirement account beside Steve's own spreadsheet, and he showed them something Steve had never calculated.
Under reasonable assumptions, not a guarantee, but a defensible range, your existing balance reaches your target in your late 50s to early 60s on its own. Your 24 years of contributions did the heavy lifting. The compounding is doing the rest.
You're saying he doesn't need the match from this contract?
I'm saying the math suggests your 24 years of discipline may have already done the heavy lifting. What Steve needs now isn't a high-salary job to feed the 401k. He needs enough income to cover your living expenses today and the discipline to leave the retirement account alone.
Then Mateo did something Steve hadn't done in 3 sleepless nights of spreadsheet work. He put Claire's income on the table.
Steve, you've been solving for how to replace your salary. The number you actually need to solve for is the gap between what Claire already brings in and what the 2 of you spend. That's a different number. It's a smaller number, and it changes what you need from your next step, whatever you decide that step is.
Mateo laid out 3 options. Option 1, sign the toxic contract. Hit the number faster. Risk his health to protect a spreadsheet that may not need protecting. Option 2, find any stable, lower-pressure role that covers the gap. Not his full salary, just the gap. Stop contributing to the 401k. Let the compounding work. Option 3, if the restructuring eliminates his role, take the severance. Mateo showed Steve that his 24-year tenure meant the severance package would cover 4 to 6 months of the income gap on its own. Not a disaster, a runway. 4 to 6 months to figure out what comes next without raiding the 401k and without signing under pressure. The number Steve would need to cover after the severance ran out? Less than half of what the toxic contract was offering.
So the severance isn't a disaster. It's the bridge.
24 years of tenure bought Steve something beyond the 401k. It bought him transition time. Most people in this situation don't see it because they're too focused on the retirement account to recognize what else their years built.
Mateo didn't tell Steve what to do with those 4 to 6 months. That wasn't his job. What Mateo did was show Steve the number and how much smaller it was than the fear.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I've been trying to protect the plan by feeding it more. Mateo just showed me the plan doesn't need more. It needs me to stop strangling it and let it work.
So what does that mean for 62?
It means we're probably not retiring at 62, maybe 63, maybe 64. But we get there on our terms, not because someone else decided I wasn't needed.
62 was always a guess, Steve. We just treated it like a promise.
He didn't throw the contract away. He put it in a drawer. The same way you put down something you don't need anymore, but want to remember you were strong enough to walk away from. A year later, the restructuring happened. Steve took the severance. Once he understood the number he actually needed to cover, the path forward wasn't complicated. 24 years of building systems for companies that knew his name had given him something beyond a retirement account. 2 former clients reached out within the first month. A third engagement came through a colleague who'd moved to another firm years earlier. Steve's mother comes for Sunday lunch now. She doesn't always remember the details. She always remembers Steve is there.
My 24 years of discipline didn't buy me a future retirement. They bought me something I didn't know I had, the freedom to stop grinding today. The plan didn't need more. It needed me to trust what I'd already built and to see what was already holding me up.
What has your discipline actually built? And does it still need you to keep feeding it? This is for educational purposes, not personalized financial advice. Your situation has its own facts. If you'd like to talk through your own version of this question, especially if you're facing an unplanned career transition, I offer a complimentary introductory call. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself.